Over the last 5 years here on YouTube, I've made dozens of food war videos. Now, Uncle Roger has recently discovered the magic of food wars. I want to break down what he thinks about food wars and give my take as the anime chef. Gandalf, do you want to come up? Come on. Okay, sit. That's reaching. That's close enough. Oh God, that's my arm. All right, you want to watch this? Uncle Roger doesn't have a cat.
So today, Uncle Roger gonna review anime cooking.
I want to see what he thinks about the food.
Shokugeki no Soma. They're making fancy rice dish in this episode.
This rice dish is actually one of my favorites. He showed it for just a brief second, and I'll talk about this as we go forward, but I've made this particular rice dish at least a dozen times, both on and off the camera. So this actually takes place during culinary school, which is something that I attended for 2 years.
Is she the food critic?
She is the food critic, technically. So in this, I know Uncle Roger doesn't know, but she's the god tongue. What that means is she has the best palate on the planet for tasting food.
She's the sexy anime version of Uncle Roger.
That is not true. I never went through a selection like this during culinary school, but I also don't think this is the reaction you would get. If you're paying $50,000 to go to culinary school, you're probably not going to run away.
Everybody's so scared. You just cooking, just cook.
So the god tongue is Erina's moniker in the show. As long as you can use eggs, you can make anything you want, which I think is a very, very cool restriction. A lot of the times when you're making something in the kitchen and you don't know what to make, giving yourself restrictions to cook inside of the box can actually help you be creative with that single item. This is why when a lot of people ask me, Paul, what should I do to be a better cook? I always just tell them, grab a single bag of rice or potatoes and make as many rice or potato dishes as you can. You're going to learn so much from that.
That a cool move?
Also, never throw your knife like Yukihira just did. Don't practice that, please. Uncle Roger, do not practice that. The food of the bottom feeders of the culinary world. I hated when Erina said this, and it feels like I'm reacting to this for the first time again because it's been 6 years. I think diner food and mom and pop shops have some of the best and most creative food you can find because they work within the restriction of having to be fast and cheap. A lot of the times, those things don't add up very well to make you great food, and these mom and pops, man, they will serve you some amazing food. Yeah, get him. This is still such a hype moment for me. I'm sorry. Just don't throw your coat like that.
Fire good? See, even anime cooking don't use induction stove.
I do agree with him there that using a flame for making whatever you're going to make in culinary school is the standard. Every kitchen I've ever worked in uses pure gas. Not a lot of places use induction because they're actually a little more difficult to use than gas burners.
Spring onion. How much spring onion you need? Like he's still chopping. You listen to background?
You need all of the spring onions, all of them.
Some kind of broth.
I like how they're showing the broth again. The one thing that I still had issue with was that he was on a timer. In Food Wars, they do these crazy food challenges. Sometimes you get 30 minutes or a minute or whatever it might be. Sometimes you get 2 hours for a battle. Sometimes it's an hour. Yukihira had to make an entire chicken stock, but they're gonna break this down in a little bit.
Beating egg with chopstick, good? That's the Asian way. We never use whisk. Whisk, the most useless kitchen appliance.
I can't agree with the whisk being the most useless kitchen appliance. Hold on, let me show you this. I have lots of whisks. All of them serve a different purpose. Some of them are for attachments and some of them are for by hand. I don't know about Uncle Roger, but I haven't made whipped cream by hand with chopsticks yet. And if you can do it, I want to see it.
Why so many shots of her skirt?
You know why they're showing this. I did like that this was a secret menu item. Yes.
What? Rice
so
with
good.
Seasoning. For this food critic.
Let me show you what furikake is. I actually keep a couple of jars of furikake on hand at all times. Why? It's fantastic to put on top of rice. Sometimes I just put it on top of scrambled eggs. It gives it a ton of flavor, and you can get different flavors. So this one is nori, which is seaweed, and this one is ebi, which is, oh my god, is shrimp. couldn't think of it. These are fantastic.
ふざけないで。やっぱり底辺の料理人ね。とんだ時間の無駄だったわ。
When you see the anime eyes get dark, you know he means business.
Transforming seasoning. I hope he mean MSG.
And Mr. Rogers said MSG. I don't know if Yukihira mentions he uses MSG in this episode. I don't believe he does, but I wouldn't doubt it if there is some form of MSG in this stock.
Wait.
There's a grandpa.
Who's that creepy
Bro,
guy? Just
that's
hiding in
Erina's
cabinet,
grandpa. He's not
spying
creepy.
onto Japanese school.
No, man, that's her grandfather. He doesn't know this, but that's Erina's grandfather. He's the one who passed Yukihira. Look, there's going to be spoilers in this. I watched this so long ago.
Everything's so dramatic. Everything they do suddenly close up of their eyeball. Is this an anime thing? He just chopped.
It is an anime thing. So there's this saying, I believe it's a Japanese saying, that the eyes are the windows to the soul, and that's why like there's a lot of close-up shots of eyeballs, especially in anime. You know it's going to go down when all you see is this. See, even Uncle Roger knows. It looks so ordinary still, but scrambled eggs, good scrambled eggs are amazing.
所詮二流料理人の仕事ね。
Second-rate cook. Uncle Roger didn't know Jamie Oliver in this anime also. Emotional dad.
That was pretty good. That was a good edit.
バレる味覚を持つ私の食卓には税と思考を凝らした高級品だけが並ぶ。
I think this is interesting. When you have food critics who have tasted thousands of different dishes across multiple types of cuisine, you may have created your own refined palate. However, we haven't tried everything there is. I've been in the food industry for 20 years, and I know maybe 0.01% of everything that exists as far as food and flavors go. These scrambled eggs could be the best scrambled eggs of your life.
卵の影に何か。
So what I don't like about this scene in Food Wars, and I know I'm speaking before Uncle Roger, is that when they showed it at first, they're doing it for dramatic effect because you can't actually see what's in it until this shot. This is cool for this, but I will say when I've plated this up multiple times, and if you want to see one of those, I'll leave a link in the description below, or maybe all three of the maybe 4 transforming rice videos. I'll leave those down there and you can see what it looks like when I plate it up. I like that they still call it furikake because it's just rice seasoning, even though it's something clearly different. This is such a cool shot, but I will say the aspic has to be perfect for it to be able to hold its shape and still melt. We're gonna see this in a second.
What, that square thing? Is that jello?
It is jello, technically.
Oh, he putting on rice. Okay.
It's so good. It's so good. It's one of the easiest things to make from the show, and it's fantastic. We're gonna get you, Uncle Roger. I promise we're gonna get you. This is so deceptively good.
It look completely different from before. No, it don't. It just rice with sauce on it. Are you blind, woman?
He's not wrong. It's technically just rice with the sauce on top. But if we look at a lot of very, very high-end restaurants, we see food transforming into food at your table. One thing that comes to mind is when they filled a candy balloon with actual helium that you could eat. You could eat the balloon, but it floated to the table. We see a lot of this stuff in cuisine that it just pushes the boundaries of creativity. This is pushing the boundaries of creativity in a diner way, and I kind of like that.
Spring onion. Oh, he chopped a whole chunk of spring onion earlier, and then just used one handful.
Yeah, you know, you gotta have them. This is it. This is the moment. If you guys watch Food Wars, you know what this means. Yep.
What?
Yep.
What?
Yep. That just happened.
Did she just orgasm?
That's the whole point of Food Wars. Not that I haven't experienced that from that same dish.
This is so unrealistic.
You know what's...
So easy.
Look, food to me is one of the senses, or I should say eating, is one of the senses that activate so many feelings in your body. I have had experiences with food, and maybe this is why I love the industry so much. I've had experiences with food that can only be explained as euphoric. Sometimes it might just be scrambled eggs with a stock and some rice.
Aspic. Aspic is broth, cool down, and then make into jello form.
He's pretty much right on that. So what an aspic is when you make a stock that has enough gelatin from bones, typically, and when it cools down, it congeals enough to where you can cut it. We used to do this quite a bit in restaurants where we would make chicken broth or beef broth. We would turn it into stock. That stock, if it had enough gelatin, would hold its shape. You could literally scoop it out with a spoon and it would hold its shape. We would then use that to make demi-glace or other sauces. Having enough gelatin in your stock gives the sauce itself this mouthfeel, this texture that you wouldn't have if it didn't have enough gelatin in it. It's almost like it coats the tongue in a way with the fattiness in the gelatin. And I will say, what's interesting is that he uses chicken wings.
Sauce give the broth umami taste and sake give it bit of sweetness. All very common broth ingredients.
So he's right. Those ingredients make the stock really, really good. And it's actually the first time I had had stock with those ingredients when I had made this dish for the first time. However, what's interesting about using the wings is that the wings have a ton of gelatin in them. They have enough to be able to use just wings, which is expensive, to make the stock. But because he's on a time crunch, he used chicken wings, not a full chicken carcass. This is still a really fun thing to have.
So the hot rice melt the aspic.
Like I mentioned earlier though, if your stock or your aspic is too thick, it actually won't melt on the rice. I've had this happen. So then I have to go back to the drawing board and you have to get a jello-like consistency. If it's too thick, it won't melt. If it's too loose, you won't be able to cut it. There's a little bit of a balance there.
Umami of chicken, good. So he don't need MSG for this one. Got good umami already.
It's very true. I didn't use any MSG when I made it, and it was fantastic.
Chicken.
So what he's not seeing is when we go back to that is that she's saying that the aspic is coating the mouth. That's like what I had mentioned earlier when I had said that if your gelatin is correct, you're going to have this beautiful, unctuous, melty flavor. How do you describe this? It's like when you're eating ramen and it's a fatty enough broth and you have this like, you can feel the fat on the tongue. That's kind of what you're looking for. See? This is what impresses people. It doesn't have to be extravagant, but if it's a dish you're familiar with but still are unfamiliar with and have never had before, it can change your mind about food.
Rice with broth?
No, Uncle Roger's not just rice with broth. He's not ready for this. He's not ready for this. I've been ready. I've been forged by this.
Wait, who this creepy baby? And why they attacking her? Stop!
He's assaulting her with food, not violently.
This to people. This for children. No, stop!
This show is not for children.
How can show this kind of
It's just a little fan service. Just a little bit. Less than Fire Force, more than Dan.
This not aspic. This LSD. I think this guy...
I mean, I've had those moments with food many times in my life.
It's supposed to be just cooking ritual. How suddenly, what happening?
Food will do this to you. If you haven't had food that has made you feel some kind of way, you haven't had good food.
Disgusting. Yeah, it's disgusting, correct? This whole video disgusting.
This whole video is amazing, and you should definitely watch Food Wars. Actually, Villain Glasses time. Because of Food Wars, I wrote an entire anime cookbook. This is filled with a bunch of Food Wars recipes, as well as recipes from other anime. Food Wars gave me a ton of ideas, not only for the YouTube channel, but professionally as well.
Niece and nephew, don't watch this anime. It's giving you all the wrong idea. You think it's this easy to please women.
It's not easy to please anyone, but I will say I am happily married because I cook really well for my wife. Uncle Roger's reaction was pretty much the same way my wife reacted to the first episode of Food Wars. If you want to see me make Yukihira's transforming rice, I'm going to leave a link for that right over here. And if you want to see an entire Food Wars playlist of food that I have made from Food Wars, including my wife's reaction to it, I'm going to leave that in the description below. Otherwise, if you want to support the channel directly, check out my Annie Bites anime cookbook over at CHEFPK.com. My name is Chef PK, and remember, keep playing with your food.